start streaming, inshallah. Because people are kind of waiting, they might think that we're not going to do it.
Yes. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You need the microphone? Okay.
Yes. Would you like some water?
Can sit next to me. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين ورحمة الله للعالمين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us an opportunity to learn some Arabic, the language that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have chosen to reveal Quran with the most honorable language, to know the most honorable of books, the Quran. As I have, first welcome everybody, and I hope that inshallah we will get our intention purely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us through the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam when he said sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى. Indeed, the a'mal, the deeds are according to intention, and one will get from his own intention. So this work, if it is for the sake of Allah, the reward for it is so immense. Not because of how much you're going to gain from it, but because of the sincerity you have in it and how much effort you put in it. So the reward is according to the effort, not necessarily the results. One will meet Allah on the Day of Judgment with huge results, with small reward. And some will come with little results, but huge reward, because the effort was given. And the knowledge is honored according to the subject matter that you are seeking. The knowledge is honored according to the subject matter that you are seeking. So this must be the highest of, because the highest of reward. And because the intention, once it is to learn the word of Arabic, the word of the Quran, and to get to know the book of Allah, there is nothing better than this. Okay, so now the language is words that we use and sound that comes out of our mouth to communicate certain ideas and certain information to each other. So I suspect that every one of you have a notebook and a pen or a pencil, or that's the old school, or you will be typing or typing, something like that. Okay, because of it's important to be ready to take notes. Especially we might be saying some expressions and so forth. So it is good to write it down, so you would every time we repeat it, you know what we mean, and so forth. The first day today, it's more of introduction, just a little bit of information, and so not so much. We're not going to need much of the board. Okay. Eventually, inshallah, we will have a board, and Tawheed, inshallah, will be writing on it whatever we need to explain things and so forth. So, the book is the Medina book, and that book is used to teach those who are entering the Medina University, and they will use it for the first 2 years to learn the Arabic language, and then afterwards they will be taught only in Arabic. Okay? So it starts from the very beginning and until it becomes a complex kind of, sentences and so forth. Now, this journey could be taken in different ways, okay? And there are different methods. Now, it depends on the purpose. What do you need the language for? Okay, so there is, people or students who wants to learn the language so they could speak Arabic, so you can be among Arabs and understand, because they're going to travel and go to Arab countries and so forth. So they're going to have an idea about the language. That is one way. Another way is to know the language as a language, of the technical way of putting these words together and so forth. Okay? If you go this route, which we are going, inshallah, to go through it, it you might be disappointed, halfway, because you're not going to be able to communicate with Arabs still. You're not going to be able to say much sentences still. And you say, I'm not quite learning. No, don't be discouraged, because what you'll be gaining, not the fluency of talking, but it is more of the understanding. So you're going to go one way or the other, right? You're going to go learn the fluency of talking, okay, but you don't quite know, and you'll be making a lot of mistakes as you're talking and so forth, and you listen to the Quran and you have some idea, but not quite, and so forth. Or the other way, you'll be putting sentences together in a very precise manner and understand how to dissect the sentences and understand it. And when you hear the Quran, you all of a sudden light bulbs will be lighting all over your brain and your heart, right? But then you sit with people who speak Arabic, who don't know how to speak, fluently and so forth. That is okay, because eventually you will. If you keep going, eventually you will. Okay? And it is an easy journey to go from that technical nahw and sarf to, speaking the language. But it's not easy to go from speaking the dialect, different dialects freely and so forth, to go into understanding and nahw and sarf. It is more difficult. Okay? So not every Arab, okay, who knows what a mubtada wa khabar is, what is, and do not quite know the language in technical term. So you might not understand the Quran in a way of the eloquence of the Quran much. But generally, yes, of course, because they know the language. Okay? So what I mean here is you'll find yourself knowing the language in one direction and not know it in other directions, because you're not living in an Arabic-speaking environment. Not after the class you go out and speak, and people speak to you and you try and so forth. That's a whole different environment. That will be ideal environment, that you know the classic Arabic in the way of Nahw and Sarf in the classroom, and then you go out and listen to the people talking. You'll be getting, the best of both worlds, if you will. But this is not available here. But eventually you will. With certain tools, eventually you'll be able to move quickly in the other side of, meaning the side of being able to fluently, little by little, being able to speak and understand and so forth. Okay. So now, the way the book is put together, by the way, the one who wrote the book is not an Arab. Okay? The one who wrote the book, his first language is Urdu, not Arabic. Okay? And by the way, and that is the best way to learn Arabic, from those who wrote how to learn it and they did not know Arabic to begin with. Okay? At least that's my opinion. Why? Because they know, they went through your journey, the journey of the one who does not know. At one time they did not know. So they are very familiar with what you get stuck on. So they put emphasis. Sometimes when I read the book, he put emphasis on certain things. I say, why does he put? But because, I was born speaking, Arabic and so forth, and so I'm not in his shoe at all, or in your shoes at all, ever, right? So what he gives is very valuable information, because it is, designed for those who do not know and starting to get to know. Very important. So, and he's brilliantly, mashallah, writing this book in a way of giving information, very little information, maybe one piece of information or two each lesson only, and repeat it over and over again. The second lesson, he takes those two and add one more piece of information to it and repeat it over and over. The next lesson, he takes those three and add one more or two more to it. So you'll have 4 or 5, okay? And on and on. Okay? It is like putting Legos together. One block, another block, and moving like that. Eventually you'll see a building, and then you'll be surprised eventually. You'll say, oh, I know this, and that, and you'll say, oh, I do? I did not know I know all of this. Okay, but it will happen, inshallah. Okay, what does that mean? It means that it is crucial that you go to these steps one at a time. Okay, do not say I'm going to skip this class and then, okay, I'm going to go the following class without reviewing the class that you missed and you expected to understand. No, you will not. You'll be a gap because you missed one block. You're like building a building and then you'll find bricks are missing in it. And eventually there is something wrong with what you're building and you don't quite understand how it is going. So it's very important not to skip a class, or if you have to skip it because of emergency or anything like that, please, before the next class, will be online, inshallah, go back, okay, and go through the class, so you'll get that piece of information and block and put it there, so you'll be ready for the next class, okay? And just be determined that to continue. Just be determined to continue, and it will come. Like all the disciplines of the Quran and the language and so forth. Okay, it will not come to you until you are tested through it. Okay, meaning difficulties here and there. Are you going to continue? Are you going to push forward? And if you do, it will finally break down to you. Okay, and come to you. Okay. So now, what is a language? Okay. And by the way, do not be discouraged if the numbers get smaller and smaller. We will continue. We will continue. Tawheed, mashallah. By the way, he's about to finish the second book. Okay. And he was in a class, had many people, and started dropping off. And he continued. And I stayed with him, alhamdulillah, and we only, just private class now. We have it once a week. It's not this one, of course, it's going to be in a different level. But it doesn't matter how many we'll have, but we will continue, inshallah. Okay? Now, so again, the language is a sound that comes out of the mouth to articulate certain ideas, certain information. Now, this language that is spoken, the Arabic as a language is the most eloquent, And the word Arabic itself is to make things clear. Okay? When we say, if I ask you to dissect a sentence, okay, tell me grammatically what is the first word, the second, the third, how it's connected, and so forth. I would tell you a'rib from the word Arabi, but it's a word of command. A'rib, meaning what? Make clear. Okay? So you're telling me the first word is a subject, the second is a predicate, now it's a noun sentence, is a verb sentence, whatever it is. So you make it clear to me. Okay? So Arabic is making things is beautiful, eloquent, and clear. Mm-hmm. And it is not, it will seem difficult, okay? And it will seem technical, but eventually you'll find it becomes easier and easier, okay? It will become easier and easier. Why? Because one word, okay, there are many words that will be derived from it. Not like English, okay? English you have, as we were given the example, that English, if you have somebody who is an author, so he writes. What does he write? He writes books. Where does he write? He writes on a desk, right? So now you have what? You have a writer or an author writing a book on a desk. Now tell me what these words has any common with each other. Nothing. What is an author, a book, and a desk? It's completely all words that are all separated. You have to learn each word. But in Arabic, you have to learn in this equation, in this sentence, you need to know only one word. Only one word for all of this. For the author, for the book, and for the desk. You only know one word. Okay? What is the one word? It is 3 letters, kaf and ta and ba, which is kataba, which meaning he wrote. Okay, it's a verb, kataba. So, how do you say an author? You say katibun. Okay, so you put an alif after the kaf. I'm not teaching anything right now. I'm just telling you, how easy it will become, right? So katibun. Tell me what he's writing. He's writing a kitab. Okay, so he is a katibun, writing a kitab. And what is writing? Yaktubu. So katibun yaktubu kitaban. It is the same word, but you put it in a different, you put a fatha, sometimes put an alif in it, and this is what we're going to be learning. What he is writing it on a maktabun. It's still the same word, but you added a meme, okay, and you put a tanween at the end, okay? So you have now what? A katibun yaktubu kitaban ala al-maktabi. It is the same word, but you know how to manipulate it to get all of this, right? So when you know this technicality, what happens? If you learn 30 words, the meaning of 30 words in Arabic, you can speak and write paragraphs and paragraphs, because you manipulate every word just like we just manipulated this. Okay? The point is, you'll find yourself moving fast and quick, and you will enjoy it. Okay? So now, a language, it is consisting of what? Of letters, right? And the letters are put together to make words, and the words are put together to make sentences. Okay? So the words, okay, the definition of a word would be what? Now, a word could be a noun or could be a verb, right? That's basically, it is a noun or a verb. In any language, not necessarily, but in Arabic, and in English as well, the word, either it is a noun or it is a verb. So, what is the easiest definition of a noun? Could someone tell me? Not those who were here in the class before. Huh? It's what? Name. But before that, what is it? It's a word, right? It's a word, okay, that gives name, okay. Huh. Okay, it's a word that has a meaning, right? It's a word that has a meaning, okay. But the meaning of the word, time is not a component of it. That is the key. The key is time. Time is not a part of the noun, right? Part is not a time. Time is not a part of the noun, okay? So you have a chair. The chair will always be a chair. It doesn't matter, where it is and how it is and all of that, and it just does not do anything, okay? Because if it does something, now it is, you're going to have to give it a verb now. Why? Because the verb is a word that has a specific meaning, but time is part of the meaning, right? Time is part of the meaning. So when I say jalasa, he sat, okay, that means he did have a seat, okay? Meaning it happened in the past. So all of a sudden that word, the time is part of it. That is basically the difference between the verb and a noun. So the verb, or the noun is timeless. The noun is timeless, does not have time in it. And is stronger than a verb, very strong. Okay? Why? Because it stays, it's constant, it's always there. Okay? But a verb, it happens, but then it does not happen, and then, and so forth, right? So when we say Asma'ullah, the names and attributes of Allah, and you say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ar-Rahman, that is strong, that's very strong, that's heavy, because it is there and will never go away, especially now we're talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He is Ar-Rahman. Okay? So now you get to know this Rahman and so forth, it is so wonderful, so, amazing and so forth. Okay? So again, what we're learning now is very basic. That is a word, either a noun or a verb. Okay? So the noun is a word that has a specific meaning, but the meaning of that word, time is not a part of that meaning. And the verb is a word that has a specific meaning, but time is part of the meaning of that in that word. Like that. Okay. We're going to add one more thing. The noun and a verb can stand on its own, meaning it gives an understanding on its own. Okay? You say a chair, so the meaning is complete, but the sentence is not complete. But you have an understanding. The understanding here is clear that there is a chair. The picture of that in your mind. Also, the verb is clear. Okay, when you say, jalasa, he sat, you know what sitting is and so forth. So the matter is, but now the sentence has to be complete. Who sat on what, and on, and on and on. Okay? But now we go to a letter, because we have a noun, a verb, and a letter. In Arabic, when we say a letter, it doesn't mean one letter. It's very important to know that. Okay? We're not saying, when we say Arabic, a letter, it doesn't mean that's one letter. A word could have two letters, and we still call it a letter, not a word. What is the definition of a letter? A word, a letter could also be a word that it does not have a meaning in itself. So we say it is a word that needs other words with it to give a meaning. Right? A word that has to have other words with it to give a meaning. So a letter in Arabic could stand by itself, not be connected before or after. But for the meaning, it has to be connected. It has to be connected. Otherwise, by itself, it does not give you a clear meaning. Like what? Like fi, for example, which is in. In. Fi, that's two letters, the fa and the ya. Fi. Is this a noun or a verb or a letter? It's a letter. Why? Because what is in what? And what do you mean by in? It does not just stand by itself like that. So even though it is consistent of two letters, we call it a letter. Because it cannot stand on its own to give some meaning. It needs some other helper with it. Okay? So now, it's very important to understand that. Okay? And you might be, looking at things that's so, yeah, we understand that and so forth, but it's important to get those small blocks and put it together. Okay? So now you have a noun, you have a verb, and you have a letter. I'm going to give you now the meaning of it in Arabic, and you write it down. That's ism. The noun is ism. Okay? That's ismun, if you want to put two dhamma at the end, but ism. The verb is fi'l, fa, ayn, lam. You can say fi'lun, put tanween, two dhammas at the end, or it's just fi'l. And the letter is harf, ha, ra, fa. You can say harfun by putting tanween at the end of the fa, or just saying harf. Okay? So now that is ismun.
Question.
Yes?
So when you put tanween at the end of any letter, does that make it a noun?
Okay, you want to go quickly. Which
No, I'm saying because you said ism and then you said ismun. So
okay?
what's the difference between?
And فعل فعل and harf harfun. Yes, you are correct. The tanween is a mark of a noun.
So if you want to be specific, you put a tanween.
The فعل does not get a tanween. The verb does not get a tanween.
Oh, okay.
Okay? You cannot put a tanween on a verb to make it a noun. No. Okay? Okay. But you are right. If you open the Quran and start looking at the words, and if there is a word that has tanween, either two dhamma or two fatha or two kasra, you know it's a noun. It doesn't matter what that word, if you don't know the meaning of the word, but you know it's an indication of a noun. And this is part of our journey from the beginning. Okay? It's very good. Okay. So now, so ismun fi'lun harfun, or ism فعل and حرف. Okay? So now, the book, a big chunk of most of the first book, it will only deal with nouns, with asma. Asma is the plural of ism. Okay? So the first book will deal with nouns. It will have verbs in it, but very limited. Eventually it will start introducing some verb. Okay, very limited. And this is the method that the author of the book, the writer of the book, have chosen to deal with the noun first before the verbs. Of course, the letter will come around quickly. Okay, we're going to start with the nouns, and then he will introduce some letters. Okay, and most of the sentences now will be nouns and letters. And then eventually, the verbs will be introduced little by little. Okay? So, what we're going to learn, inshallah, for a long time about noun. Okay? So, what are we going to learn about noun? How do you recognize a noun? Because there are certain things that happen to it and only it. So when you see these things happening to a word, you know it's a noun. One of it is what the sister just asked. That when you have a tanween at the end, does that mean it's a noun? Yes, that's one of the mark of the noun. Okay? So now, that's what we're going to learn first. The tanween. Tanween in that mean making a noon. Like getting a dhamma and make it sound like put a noon. Okay? Will be, let us say, ba dhamma. How do we pronounce ba dhamma? Boo. Boo. So how we make it, give it tanween, two dhammas. Bun. So we make it noon. We made a noon, right? Bun. So that's why we call it tanween. You make it like a noon. Right? Bun. So you need to know, that is, those are dhammatain. Dhamma is one. You need to know the word dhammatain. Okay. Okay, that is baytun. Let's say baytun. The ta has two dhammas. It has dhammatain. What if the ta at the end has fathitain? Baytan. Baytan. So it will have fathitain. What if the ta has kasratain? Baytin. Okay? So we need to, the first information that we want to get used to, and our eyes get used to it, the tanween. That's dhammatain, fathatain, kasratain. Tan or tun, tan, tin. Can you say that? Bun, ban, bin. Okay. So, and you need to know that it is called dhamma, but when you put another one, it is dhammatain, or dhammatain, or dhammatan. We will know. Okay? Or two fathatain, fathatan, fathatain, okay, and kasratain. Okay? That's what we need to know at the beginning. And that is always a noun. The noun loves dhamma. Oh, by the way, if the word has only one dhamma, not two dhammas, one dhamma, not necessarily it's not a noun. A noun could have one dhamma. Okay? So two dhammas or two fatha, two kasra, not necessarily has to be on the noun. But once you find it on the noun or under the noun, then this is a noun. Okay? So we will know when to put the two dhammas and when not to put the two dhamma, put one dhamma. And we will work with the dhamma for a long time. And then we're going to work with the fatha or the kasra. After the dhamma, we'll work with the kasra. When the kasra comes in, and then we work with the fatha later on. Okay. So why making a big deal out of that? Because this is how you identify a word and gives it a character in the sentence. Determined what happens, or what the meaning of this word and the meaning of the sentence is very important. Okay? Because when I tell you eventually a'rib, explain, dissect, so will tell me this first word has tanween on it because it's a noun and because it is in the place of such and such and such. So now it has this. And tell you, okay, the word after it has kasra. Why? Because it is in position of such and such and such. Let me give you an example of that. Okay? When we say Allah created man, in English, yeah, Allah created mankind, right? So in Arabic, the verb of created is khalaqa. 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 The kha fatha, lam fatha, qaf fatha. Khalaqa. And then you have two words after it, because in Arabic you can't put the verb first. You put the verb first. So you know what the action is here. Okay, so once you hear the word khalaqa, there is someone is creating and someone is being created. Right? So who is the creator? Allah. And who is the creation? Al-insan, mankind. Okay? So in Arabic we say the one who is the doer of the action gets a dhamma. The doer of the action. So it becomes Allahu. Khalaq Allahu. So when you hear that, you know that Allah is the one who's created. He created something. And then what is being created? Al-insan. Then what is being, the object gets a fatha. So al-insana. Right? So now how do we say that? Khalaqa Allahu al-insana. Okay, khalas. We know khalaqa is a verb, it's a past tense, and Allah is the fa'il, is the doer of the action, which is the subject is Allah, and the object is the insan. Khalas? Okay. So now you can leave this as it is and switch the haraka, get the dhamma here and the fatha here. And if you do, they will say in that mankind created Allah just by changing the dhamma and the fatha. Okay? If you say خلق الله هل إنسان, say astaghfirullah, I became a kafir. Even the order is still the same, but the meaning is completely different. Now you're making astaghfirullah, Allah is the object, and the mankind is the subject. Okay? So that's why the reason I give that example is what? That to say it is important to know the fatha and kasra and dhamma, because that will give you meaning. Eventually it depends on it, the meaning will be clear. Okay? Or it will be the opposite. Or it will be iman, or it will be kufr, or it will be nifaq. Okay? It will. So it is important to know, so when I make a big deal about something, it seems insignificant. It is significant. You'll find how significant it is later on. Okay? So everything that we're learning now is significant. because we are putting puzzles together. So what is the first puzzle that we learned in this? What is the first block that we learned? We learned that there is an ism, there is a fi'l, and there is a harf. Okay? And the ism is a noun, a word that has a specific meaning, and time is not a part of it. And what is a fi'l? Fi'l is a noun. That's a word, has a specific meaning, and a time is a part of it. What is a harf? Harf is a letter that has incomplete meaning. It needs help to give a meaning, even though it might be 2 letters or 3 letters, but it's still a harf. Okay? It's still a letter. Okay. So now, that is the first block, and it's very important. The second one is, we need to know that tanween. Okay? Tun, tan, tin. Bun, ben, bin. Okay? That's dhammatain, fathatain, kasratain. Okay? So now, what time do we have, Tawheed?
9:01.
Oh, okay. Okay. Do we have the books? Everybody has the books, inshallah?
Yes.
I heard a lot of yes on my right and not a lot of yeses on my left.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the first page that has a list of words, of sentences and pictures. Okay. We're just going to go through the first one, the first sentence, which is هذا بيت. Everybody say it. Okay. So is there a noun there? Yes. Yeah. And هذا also is a noun. It does not have anything, but you will know, but it's a noun as well. Okay? Okay, what does that mean? This is a house. Well, where is? This is a house, the 3 words. But it is in Arabic only 2. هذا بيت. What happened to is? Is within هذا بيت. There is no is. Okay? There is no is. Okay? Is understood there. Okay? هذا بيت. This is a house. Is it a complete sentence? Yes. It's very complete. Because you pointed at something and you told me what it is. Okay. You pointed at something that is near. هذا is to indicate something that is near. There is another word for that. This is this, and there is this and that. But this word is this, هذا. Okay? هذا بيت. Okay. So, هذا means this is, and then بيت means a house. Okay. So, this sentence has 2 components to it. Okay? And those 2 components, ready for the next sentence I'm going to say? A very important sentence. Very, very important, crucial sentence. Those 2 components in this sentence must be in a noun sentence. Must be in a noun sentence. Which is the beginning and the news. Okay? The beginning and the news. What is the beginning? This is. Okay. You just pointed. If I've never seen a house before, you just pointed. This is. So you brought my attention to something. And then you gave me the information to complete it. Say, baytun. Oh, okay. So now I know every time I look at this, I say, هذا baytun. This is a house. I know what it means, the word, how I can identify this now with the word. I identify it with my eyes, I know the structure, but now I know it is called baytun. Those two, always in a sentence, in a noun sentence, must be. Another word, a noun sentence could have 10 words in it. But what is your job? Your job is to find out those two components quickly. Where are those two? And we will learn it. But how beautiful the book is, he's going to give you all those two components one after another and keep giving it one after another, right? And then separate it with a couple of words and then bring some words after the news that you get in the information, you put something else and make it more difficult. But the beauty of this is that we put in one block over the other, and all of a sudden you read a sentence of 10 words and you tell me where is the beginning is and where is the khabar. Oh, I give you a word in Arabic. The khabar is the second part. Khabar. You know what khabar is? News or information. Information or news. Right? Huh? Okay, the beginning called mubtada.
Now, is beginning and news, is it always that beginning is the first component and news is the second component?
Not necessarily. Don't go there. Not necessarily. You're asking difficult questions. To explain that, you're not going to understand anything. Okay? Okay. But what we're saying is what? Yeah, there is a mubtada and there is a khabar. Okay, so mubtada, okay, is the subject. And the khabar is the predicate. Okay? So every noun sentence must have a mubtada and khabar. Must have a subject and a predicate. Okay? So, this page, first page, is full of this, just a knowledge about objects, what these objects are, a house and a door and a book and on and on and on and on. Okay? And it is a sentence that is, it's a noun sentence, and we're going to be working with noun sentences all the time. And it will have those two components in it. Okay? Now, we're going to stop here today. And you go home throughout the week, you will digest that. Okay? And memorize that. Really, it's not much at all. But it's very important to have that first, block, okay, first cube of the Legos that we are building. Okay, very, very strong to understand everything that we just said. Okay, and the words in Arabic in it and so forth. Okay, and again, you will enjoy this when it gets together. Okay, you want to tell them any comments, Tawheed? No. Okay. Any questions? Any questions about what we said? Any questions at all? Mm-hmm.
But not necessarily fathatain and kasratain.
Yeah, fathatain, kasratain.
You said dhammatain and dhamma will definitely be the noun. The word will be the noun.
And two fathas and two. Jazakallahu khairan. If I did not make that clear, it should be clear. So if a word has two dhammas or two fathas or two kasras, it's a noun.
You said that.
Yeah.
But the way I understood that.
One fatha, one dhamma.
It could be a noun still. Okay? But a mark of a noun is a tanween. Okay? Meaning once you see it, it's definitely a noun. Mm-hmm.
But it seems like noun loves the dhammatain the most.
Oh, very good question. Very good comment. it is, the Dhamma is always a default. The Dhamma is a default. Very good. Because if I change it, say, oh, what happened? Why you change this Dhamma to something else? And I have to have a reason. Okay? I have to have a reason. And we will learn the reasons why we change it. Okay?
Yeah, like one of the reasons you actually explained that Allah created the insan. So you changing from the
Correct.
to Fatatai.
Correct.
You're making subject to object.
Correct. And at this level now we say the two Dhammas here make it a particular. It's very good. These questions brought some more emphasis of what we're saying. It's not very far from what we're saying. Because once you say point at something, an object, it's a particular object. So the tanween here makes it particular. A particular house. This is a house. هذا بيت. Okay? Any other questions? Okay. Alhamdulillah. Are we going, did I give too much today? I heard no and I heard no.
Hada is also a noun.
Yes, هذا is a noun. Did you hear that? What the sister
And it
is.
does not have the tanween at the end.
Correct. That's why I told you that the noun could have a tanween, okay, and a noun might not have a tanween. Okay.
Hada, but my question is, hada means this.
This is.
So this is not giving me any information. Then how come it's a noun? It should be a harf.
Because you're pointing at it.
Pointing at what?
Whatever I'm pointing at.
So that is a noun that I'm pointing at. This is not.
It is, yeah, the word is clear. When I say هذا, first you don't know what this is. You see it is a structure, but you don't know if it's called a bayt or a house or a chair or whatever, right? You don't know what you call it. But I'm pointing at it. That's clear. I'm not saying anything vague. Right? I'm coming to this and I'm pointing at this here and say this is. So the word this is clear. I'm not pointing anywhere else. So it's still clear. Okay? So, okay, very good point. The sister here, but this is a little bit, a little bit high, but the sister has a very good question. She said, هذا here, does not have, even a Dhamma. It does not even have a Dhamma. Okay, I'm going to just help with one sentence. I'm not going to make so much details because I don't want to, jump the gun here. That there are words in Arabic that you cannot change it. You cannot change it. It does not handle a fatha or kasra or a dhamma at all. It will have, whatever it has, it's permanent. It's permanent, you cannot change it. Okay, هذا is one of these words. هذا is always هذا. You cannot say هذا or هذاو or هذي, you understand? To change it, you have to change the letter. To take the alif and put a ta marbuta, say هذه, right? And هذه becomes هذه always. You cannot say هذهن, هذهن, or هذهن, no. Okay? So there are words in Arabic that is built. It's called, I'm not going to tell you even what it's called right now. Okay? But it does not change. Okay? And it will come soon. The word that it is written like this, it doesn't matter where it is. It's written like this. Okay?
Sheikh Mahmoud, if we say هذا قلم, هذا قلم.
هذا قلم, yes. Very good. Did you hear what Brother Khan is saying? In Arabic, you say هذا قلم. This is a pen, and we put a sukoon on it, right? Only a sukoon, nothing. right? Does that make sense? It makes sense. Because in Arabic, in the Quran, right? At the end of the verse, you put a sukoon, right? When we say Ar-Rahman,
So basically, Allah.
but Ar-Rahmanu, it is a noon with a dhamma, but we say Ar-Rahman, okay? Okay, Allama al-Quran, but if you read it, Allama al-Qur'ana. If you read it with haraka, it's not going to rhyme. Ar-Rahmanu allama al-Qur'ana khalaqa al-insana allamahu al-bayana. Okay? الشمس والقمر بحسبان. Right? So yes, that's a very good comment. That we can, at the end of the sentence of the word, we can put a sukoon and it will be understood. I know this is a pen, I know this is a house. Why do you make it difficult? Put tanween on it? Because we're trying to learn grammar. Because we're trying to learn grammar. That's why we insisted in this. Can you take it off and speak like that? You can. But you're not going to learn. That's why I have my stick. So if you give me a word that has a sukoon and you know you should put something on it, you get in the stick. No, you cannot put a word. From now on, when you're reading, you cannot put a sukoon unless the word has a sukoon. Okay? When I was little in the classroom and my teacher tell me read, I read and then I put sukoon in every word, right? And he says to me, okay, the excuse of the one who does not know the i'rab is just put sukoons in everywhere, because that's easy, right? But again, we can say خلق الله الإنسان, right? And leave it to you, put in the whatever it is that you wanna, okay? But for the purpose of knowing and to get to know the meaning and so forth, we need to put the haraka on it. Jazakallah khair. Okay. Yes. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.